So I just wanted to kind of make a video about talking about stuff like usual, but I've been inspired by this guy named Yankee recently, and I've just seen he just puts gameplay over what he talks about, and I'm like, I should do that, It's better than just talking into a camera, you know what I mean? So, either way, the first topic I kind of just wanted to touch on for a new style of video is I was just thinking late at night. I was staying up really late and I couldn't really get my mind off of how emotionally disoriented I am. I think I'm very messy, and I think I try to act better than I am, and I think there's so much about me that's confusing, and I really needed to get down to a conclusion. I mean, there's many conclusions, but for me, one of the biggest ones I thought of is probably my parents being divorced, and that sort of lifestyle that really took away my youth and gave me pretty bad memories, and it really kicks me in the butt sometimes when it's late at night and I reflect on bad things I did, but it was only because I was in the situation I was. Having divorced parents and living basically two different lifestyles really sucked the life out of me and the youth out of me when I was younger, and I just never knew why, but just diving into it makes more sense. I was in third grade and it was a normal day. Normal stuff had been happening. My mom and my dad were getting into a couple of arguments, but for the most part, as a kid, I didn't notice anything weird or strange. Then one day, out of the blue, I go to school. My mom drops me off, love you, ma, see ya. And I go to school and I come out and there's someone else picking me up. No one I've ever met in my life. And they actually lied about their name. I don't know what their real name was, but they said their name was Meatball. And I don't think I'm the only person that believes that's low-key false. But anyways, Meatball picks me up and literally is like, hey, she says my mom's name, so I know they're not crazy or weird or anything, or a stranger, and they're like, you should come with me, your mom wants me to pick you up or something like that. So I'm like, all right. So I go, and then they're explaining everything, and I don't really remember exactly what they're saying, but they were saying something like, your mom is doing this and blah blah blah. And basically I got brought to a facility, and there were a bunch of counselors and people, and it was almost like an office space, and they made me play games. And meanwhile, I didn't know anything. This was in downtown Boston. We were in Alston, but this was around Cambridge, I think. We were just down there, and I was sitting in the room just playing, and a counselor that visited our house once in a while, actually, that I knew, met up with me, and I was like, how's it going? She was just there. That's when I was starting to get a little skeptical, because I had seen her, and she was this role of coming to our house and checking up on us, and I was just in the facility. So basically, long story short, I don't remember too much, but what ended up happening was I was actually transmitted to a foster home, and I spent, I think, around a year with these rich dudes, and they wanted to actually adopt me. But then my father actually took me back before they could adopt me or do any legal stuff, and I never heard of them since. I was back at my father's house, at my grandmother's house, and my father's Brazilian, and that was very strange growing up in that Brazilian household without my mother. My mother actually lived with my grandma and my dad, except this time she wasn't here. So I got dropped off by school by her. I get transmitted to this foster home, then I come back and she's not there. After a little bit of just staying in that house without knowing much about my mom, I think it's my grandmother, someone told me that I would be meeting with my mom like once a month, I think, or it was once every 6 months or something like that. So I remember I used to wait for those days to come, and when we did, we would go to this Dunkin' down the street and we would talk and eat like nothing ever happened. And meanwhile, my mother wasn't doing too well. She was like using at the time, off and down, up and down, and she was dating this douchebag. There's just like so much that I didn't really know at the time. And then I would go home and I wouldn't see her for another 6 months, like year, something like that. And I was just lost at that time. I was doing bad stuff in school. I wasn't in the right headspace. I got into fights, stuff like that. That's where it really stems. It did get better. I visit my mom on the weekends, and it's been years since then. We see each other very often, like breaks, like I'm over here in the summer with her, and everything is just going well. But it's just so like heart-wrenching to live two separate lives. And my parents not only live far away from each other, like a state down, but they also dislike each other and they don't have the best relationship. It really plays with your mind. You're so at the hands of other people and you're being tossed around and pulled and dragged. I just remember being so lost, and recently just realizing like whenever I'm confused, whenever I'm scared, whenever I'm worried, like where does it really come from? Because yes, it's like puberty and like going through changes and different types of sadness and feelings I'm like overcame by, but it's also a part of being separated and juggled around by loved ones, and it's just this manipulative game. And I went through so much to really realize that the people who are trying to help me are actually hurting me more than they're helping me. Divorced parents suck, and if anybody out there is going through a familiar situation, it's very important to keep your mind in the headspace that everything will be all right. You can get through hard times. And at times like this, it's important for me to remember that I was in worse situations and that I got past them. I hope this video comes out like okay and fine, because I want it to be really chill. I want to kind of do stuff like this where I can just kind of post, But yeah.